Our goal and our hope is these traditions that we have and that you have will bond you with your family members, will create deeper connections, greater love, greater belonging, and that it ultimately helps you achieve the vision you have for your family. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Not by Chance podcast. I'm excited to be able to have Roxanne with me today, my business partner, my wife, my partner at home. And I've always said that she is the one in the family that is most intentional about creating our family culture. And I'm very fortunate that she's like this. One of her favorite topics is traditions, and that's what the topic is going to be on today. Roxanne, do you want to introduce that for us?
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. I've been telling Tim, we've got to record this. We've got to record this. The holidays are upon us, and here we are recording from our two home offices just so that we can get it done before Thanksgiving. But I'm excited to be talking about this because as a not by chance family or an intentional family, you want to look for ways to build belonging, closeness, opportunity for healing, opportunity for fun. And so we're excited to be talking about traditions today. And I hope that as we talk about these, you don't tell yourself, I don't have traditions. That's not my thing. There's a lot of things that are just patterns, and there are things that are actually tradition that we place meaning on. And when we have meaning, we have belonging. And there was a beautiful quote by Marge Kennedy, and she said, is no such thing as a perfect family, but a family can be perfect in its love and traditions. You may not have the Hallmark movie Thanksgiving dinner. Maybe you have a family that's not the way that you pictured it to be at this point in your life or in your children's lives. But I hope that as we talk today, you're going to find that you have created belonging and meaning and intentionality in your family traditions. So a couple of the reasons that traditions are so important. This isn't just fluff. This is actually backed by science. And in the Journal of Family Psychology and Family Processes, it shows that teens, when they belong to something that is larger than themselves, that is a key factor in resilience. And I know that for me personally, I constantly harken back to my family and the things we did that made me a Platt. And I know you do the same, Tim. And I'm sure that our listeners think back on the things that make them belong to the blank family and that is a strength because they did this thing. Even if it wasn't super meaningful, it was something that was continued and it was passed down from generation to generation. What are your thoughts about that?
I was just thinking about a few in our own family, but I was also thinking about, I hope you'll cover, I think you will, that the key is that it helps people feel like they belong. And that means that not only that they are important, but that the relationships they have are strengthened through that tradition. So it's creating that connection between them and others in that group, in that family. So I'm sure that as we go along, we'll cover some of that.
Yeah, I think family cohesion is something that can happen around transitions, but also traditions. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that if we think about the growth cycle of a family and all the different people that come in and out of families, we could see this as a golden thread that goes through a lifetime where you have these moments where you connect because this is what we do and this is what we wear and this is what we eat. And I think that that kind of cohesion and that belonging and that sense of normalcy is really important in a world that is chaotic. And so I think that as we go through and talk about these things, we'll help parents realize that they are helping build their child's identity and their feelings of self-esteem by
Mm-hmm.
sticking to a tradition.
Yeah, tradition by definition, I'm pretty sure means that you repeat it,
Mhm.
And it turns out that when you repeat something around either, whether it be a holiday or a season of the year or special events, birthdays, whatever it might be around, what it does is it gathers you on a
Mhm.
regular basis. And so proximity, closeness, communication, laughter, fun, all of those things, the food you're talking about. There's a lot of elements that go into these things, but at the base level, what it does is it gets you together on a regular basis.
Mhm. And these can be religious traditions. They can be traditions that started this year. They can be traditions that your kids saw from a friend's family and they wanted to try it. And it could be short lived. And that's something I think that we need to understand, that a tradition doesn't have to be from now to eternity. It can be from now till we decide if we want to keep it next year. And so we're going to talk about that. But when people engage in family rituals, they report a higher sense of satisfaction, life satisfaction, and less depressive symptoms. Isn't that interesting? Why would that be, that you would experience less depressive symptoms if you participate in family traditions? Probably because you feel like you belong. There is meaning in your life. There are people who need you, who are counting on you. There's a sense of anticipation and hope in this celebration. It kind of makes me feel like we don't do enough, even though our kids might say that's too much, we don't do enough. I was talking to my daughter today, and she was saying that she's got a brother-in-law who's getting into a new relationship, and the mother is asking for the kids to come over all the time. And he's feeling a little bit like, whoa, that's a lot to be asking for around a birthday tradition. And it made me think about what we've had to do as we've had new people come into our family, and now there's two families. And we've had to take our traditions and say, okay, this is an A, B, or C list event. A list meaning you have to be there. Come heck or high water, you will be there. A B list event is, we would really love it if you can be there, but understand if you can't make it. And C list event is, it's up to you.
Yeah, so we have to be really careful how many events we say is on the A list, because if we really are stressing this has got to be, you got to do everything you can to be there, we can't put them in a bind, and so you have to be really careful about that. But I would say the things that end up on the A list says something about your values. It says something about the things you place the most importance on, that you want everybody to sacrifice to be there.
Yeah, and so I might suggest that you consider, as you are listening to this podcast today, and I think it would be a wise thing to do, to write down maybe 5 traditions you have during the holidays. It could be that we always watch Scrooged. It could be that we, always have Christmas Eve dinner together. It could be that we go around the table at birthdays and share one thing we love about people. Write some of those traditions down and then decide what is an A list event that has to happen and everybody's counting on it. And then here's the twist. And if you are a control freak, which most parents are to a certain point until they realize they can't control anything, you might feel like, I can't give up anything. This all has meaning. But as families morph, we have to become flexible. We have to be accordions where we can lengthen things out, we can shorten things, we just have to be flexible. And so you might want to consider protecting just one holiday tradition this year. Does
Let
that
me
sound?
let me ask you a question, Roxanne. How does everyone know when a tradition has outlived its value?
Okay, well, this is a really important question because you have to evaluate your values and your traditions and decide when it's actually causing more stress and harm than good. So, for example, my grandmother, her father started picture Christmas cards every year in World War II. And I today kill myself to get it done. But it got to a point where people didn't want to sit around the table and somebody's stamping the address and someone's putting the stamps on it and I'm signing the name and someone's addressing them. So now it matters to me. It doesn't matter to them. I do the whole thing myself because it matters to me. So I keep it, but I'm not going to inflict it on everybody. And I think that one of the things that you can do to make sure that it's actually worth keeping is have a conversation. One of the things that research has shown is that if both generations come together around a tradition where the younger generation is bringing some new blood and new fresh eyes, and the older generation is bringing the sentimentality and this has gone on since, for all of these generations, you can create something new that still honors the past, but also gives a nod to what is happening in this modern world. And when people get to bring their ideas to the table, there is so much more investment on their part. If it's you inflicting everything because it matters to you, they have no buy-in.
That's a great point. I was sitting here thinking about, you know, sometimes if they're young, they might not like your, tradition that you're having them stop everything and be a part of it. But I believe in time, most good traditions end up being something they cherish and love later on as they get older. Even if they didn't love it at the time, you almost look back on them with rose-colored glasses of the Thanksgivings that at the time you're just like, this is crazy trying to get all this stuff ready for this one meal, or wrangling the kids while we're doing it. It's I'm seeing that right now, and this may not be a traditional idea of what a tradition is or a normal idea. But for me, working as a family on holidays, that's kind of how I grew up. And I, of course, hated it because I could think of a lot of other things I would have rather done.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time with my dad and brothers working sometimes on holidays. And I'm not talking about Christmas, Christmas Day or Thanksgiving Day, but some of the lesser holidays, you might say, we did a lot of work around those. Now, it's not necessarily on a holiday that we do it, but anytime I work with my dad now, and especially if I have my sons with me, and this last time my brother showed up and he was there, it was a phenomenal experience on the farm with my dad, putting tin on the shed, digging a water line in so that it wouldn't freeze this winter when they put water to the cows out to the corral, putting lights under the shed. All this sounds like a lot of work, but the fact that we were doing it together and just enjoying it, it's been about 3 weeks ago, and we're still talking about it today. All the kids are talking about it.
And there were some things that you did to make it traditional. And these were tricks that we did when the children were younger, like playing country music loud on the radio, so that there was something to cover up you yelling at them, like, get over here, pick that up. But
Yeah, I
but
had to
that
make it fun in between all the
yeah,
ordering them around. Yeah.
exactly. But there was that. And then there was also stopping at the gas station and getting Subway on the way home. And you
Yeah.
made sure you did that 3 weeks ago, even though, they're all grown men and they can buy their own. We're happy to buy them dinner. Um, so yes, you're right.
Well, before you leave the subway, so interesting. We were with our oldest son Mitchell, and he took his daughter Olive to Subway, and he told her that every time we went out to the farm and on our way home we'd go to Subway, and so he told her the story around the tradition that we had. Now, guess what? Our granddaughter loves Subway. It's like where she really wants to go. It's her like favorite place because now she's a part of the tradition in some way. If you're tired of having power struggles with your teen over freedoms and privileges, put the ball in their court and have them create a plan for how they're going to earn back that freedom. We've got a tool for you. It's free. You can find it at trustandfreedom.trusty.com. You can find that in the description below.
Right. I think one of the things that is a challenge is when we, again, try to make everything important. We try to raise everything to a level of this has to happen or it's not a good holiday. That's when the stress comes in. That's when people start to rebel and say, I'm not doing this. Again, going back to how to be intentional, if we could have a discussion as a family and decide what is important to you, I think that you would be shocked if you said, is it okay if we throw out the hot chocolate this year? I'm, going without sugar. I think that we would have a rebellion to let go of some things. So I think that it would be interesting for us to say, how can we shake it up this year, but still make it feel like a special holiday to you? One of the things I think is important to think about is not just the food and not just the decorations and not just the parties, but is there something that makes it feel like you are sharing blessings that you've been given? Is there a way to maybe rotate charities? Let each person in the family decide on a charity they would like to donate to this year, or all go work at that charity together. Is there something that lets people say, we're going to do something different this year? And it's not just going to be about entertaining ourselves, it's going to be about helping others. And so maybe consider adding some of that dimension in to your holiday celebration. I
I
think that
like that you brought that up. A lot of people probably have built into their lives opportunities to serve others, and in other cases maybe they don't, and so they have to really plan it, find a way to do that. But I will say that there were experiences I've had belonging to the church I belong to, we belong to, that facilitated this service, and it's another one of those things that teens and children might resist. They may not want to go and weed someone's yard or help someone in some way. But invariably, the interesting thing to me, I watched this happen over and over again. They would go sometimes dragging their feet. At the end of the process, there's something magical about serving someone else, and you see that you've lifted them. And every time the kids would be happy at the end. And I've tried to point this out because I wanted them to see the pattern that, what you think is going to be boring and no fun and you'd rather do something else, at the end of it, there's something incredibly meaningful about it that just makes you happy. So I love that idea that build some of that into your traditions.
Yeah. The other thing that we need to talk about is for families who have a teen in treatment or one who's been away, there's some strained feelings there
Yeah.
and some hurt and some loneliness and some feelings of loss that maybe they're not sharing this holiday season together or that they have some things to work out together. I would ask you, Tim, what do you suggest is good about this opportunity of being apart during a holiday or an opportunity where they've recently come home? Why would the holiday season be a good thing to focus on traditions for?
I would say number one, find a way to focus on the relationship more than ever during a holiday, even if they're away. What can happen? I'm thinking of a story of a young man in a wilderness program, in our wilderness program many years ago, who it was going to be over Thanksgiving and then over Christmas that he was going to be out there in the snow, in the woods, away from his family. And he would be the first to admit at the time, because he had grown quite a bit by the time Christmas came around, but he would admit that he was a very entitled young man, that he the year before he'd gotten skis, really nice downhill skis. His parents bought him, but they weren't exactly what he wanted, and so he threw a fit. Well, this next one away from his family, he told me that he felt so bad the way that he acted the year before. And he was just remembering that was about the relationship was what mattered to him now, not what he got. And so it's actually interesting, it could be a feeling of I'm missing out. On the other hand, in a lot of cases, there's a feeling of I need to not take my family, my parents, their love for granted. And so I'd say keep focusing on the relationship, find a way to maybe bring some of those traditions to them, whatever the treatment program will let you do. But know that it's not the worst thing in the world to miss it.
Yeah. I just want you to remember the end of that story. The rest of that story is that this year he got peanut butter, and it was his best Christmas ever.
Yeah, that year. That's right. Well, he got peanut butter. A little bit more on Christmas, though. He got a salami,
Oh, that's
and I think they got some pumpkin pie. The group did, and he was just. I went out there on Christmas, the day after Christmas, and asked him about it, and he was just still so happy about how it went and what amazing Christmas it was that he got these unique food items and with the rest of his group. So it was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, gratitude builds when you lose something that you've had. I also want to suggest that you find ways to connect with your teen while they are in treatment. Is there something that would be okay with the program that you could send them to help them feel like they're still carrying on family traditions and sharing it with the other students in the program? Maybe it's a food. Maybe it's a story that they share. Maybe it's just that they tell what their traditions are, what you might be doing on, this Christmas Eve or something like that. One of the things that I like to do, it's a tradition for me, is when there's an event that my mom would have been to, I like to wear her diamond ring. And I also wear her perfume. And so I smell her, I see her because my hands are getting old and they look like hers now. I'll call the kids over and say, smell my neck. Do I smell like grandma? And they recognize her perfume. And I do smell like grandma. And that's just something very simple that it's just a smell of home. And so can you send us a candle? Can you send, I don't know what it is, a pillowcase that they like to sleep on. Just think of something that you can say, share some of this with the people that you're with this Christmas. And I would say that to all of us, if we don't have our whole family around us or things look different in our family than they were last year, who else can you reach out and involve to widen your circle and bring more joy and connection into your life? So I know that because of COVID and other just the modern world, we do feel very disconnected from our neighbors. Recently, we've made friends with a Russian family who's moved into our neighborhood, and they're coming to our Thanksgiving dinner this year. And they're so excited to be invited to a big family dinner, their first Thanksgiving in America. And we're so excited to expand our circle and learn something about a new culture and have new friends. And so I just want to again remind you, volunteering and charity, those are good things, but look close to home. Who could use a friend? Who could use a meal? How could you donate, give time, just help?
Love it, Roxanne. And I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving this year. I know that you're already planning it, and we've got things going there, and Christmas. And our goal and our hope is that it helps these traditions that we have and that you have will bond you with your family members, will create deeper connections, greater love, greater belonging, as you mentioned before, and that it ultimately helps you achieve the vision you have for your family. And that's our hope for you around this season. Is there anything else you'd like to end with, Roxanne?
I do. We created a Not by Chance family tradition builder. And I just want to tell you where it's at if you'd like to go download that and use that as your springboard for a family discussion about traditions that you might want to add or what could be cut this year or what could go on to an every other year schedule. But it's on trusty.com, trusty with two Y's, trusty.com/traditions. And I think that would be a really great way for you to re-examine what's going on in your family this year and what might be most helpful.
This has been great. It's actually got me really excited for the holidays. Got my mind in that space now. So thanks, Roxanne, for that. And families, we wish you the very best during this holiday season and hope that it brings your family closer together.